One of the main problems of the Latin American community, if not the biggest problem, has been that we have been an invisible community.
The current project is a continuation of some previous research that we did in 2011 called No Longer Invisible. What the new project does is provide an in-depth analysis of the 2011 census, as well as some survey work with 400 Latin Americans who've migrated from other European countries. And we're calling them Onward Latin Americans, and they've come primarily from Spain.
We were noticing a huge growth in the demand for services.
So part of the reason for focusing on the Onward Latin Americans is because in consultation with migrant organisations, they said this was the key group coming from other European countries, yet they knew nothing about them.
So why we're funding this research is really because so little is known about this community. And I think what the research has done, and this additional report's done, is actually shines more light on the community and what the needs are. And so it's helped the organisations on the ground, as well as more mainstream organisations such as public bodies, know how to address and support that community.
So we need to know the size of a migrant community so that we can try and improve their conditions and so that we can try and meet the needs of that population. In relation to the work that we've done with the 2011 census, it's really important to stress that this refers primarily to the established Latin American community. It excludes those who are irregular, who don't have legal papers, and also those living in very precarious labour and housing situations. And also it will deter those who don't feel comfortable speaking English.
Mi país está en una situación catastrófica actualmente, no sé si ustedes se han dado cuenta. La situación política está horrible, la situación económica, la situación social, psicológica, todo el mundo está, vamos, fuera de su ámbito como antes lo era mi país. Y creo que necesitan mucho tiempo para salir adelante y no creo regresar.
Yo tomo la decisión de salir de mi país por una situación eminentemente machista. Una mujer con 2 divorcios y con esa edad realmente es muy mal vista por los hombres y por las mujeres, obviamente.
Bueno, en España es bien bonito, ¿sabes? España es un lugar a todo dar, es precioso. La diferencia es que no hay trabajo, hay mucha gente que no tiene trabajo. Y creo que muchas personas están emigrando a otros países debido a la situación económica que tiene el país.
En España estuve trabajando un poco de todo, pero los últimos años estuve trabajando como asistente del chef. Y bien, hasta que empezó la crisis. Entonces ya por la situación económica pues tuve yo que emigrar, y aquí tengo un primo que fue el que me dijo pues que viniera acá, que me recomendó, y fue el que me ayudó en cuanto a mi estadía aquí.
La situación en España se empieza a complicar. Yo no adquirí ninguna deuda económica en España, es verdad, pero tenía la necesidad de salir porque vivir del gobierno cobrando el paro, una situación que para mí me mantenía inútil, no podía permanecer por mucho tiempo.
Tenía un piso, ¿verdad? Y luego, como se quedó sin trabajo, el piso lo perdimos, el banco nos los quitó. O sea, prácticamente lo que hicimos fue entregarlo.
30 en pos de la hermandad, con la fuerza de Guevara y la voz de la igualdad.
El pasaporte europeo me abrió las puertas para llegar a este país. donde no tenía que pasar por el trago amargo de ser un inmigrante ilegal.
So onward Latin Americans arrive in London with EU citizenship rights, but this doesn't mean to say that life is easy for them when they get here. This is primarily because they can't speak the language. This affects their entry into the labour market, where they face exploitation, and also their access to housing. They often end up living in precarious housing and in overcrowded housing.
When they move here, it's shocking, the language barrier, the lifestyle so quickly, so expensive. For me, it was like part of the life. I need to adjust or I have to move.
Llegar a Inglaterra me hizo sentir por primera vez inmigrante, a pesar de que esta es mi segunda migración.
The sort of women that we see at Lourdes, the recent arrivals, are with women that come with no English, with scant information about the system and the rights, and that find it very hard to navigate a completely different system for them.
El que no conoce las leyes, entonces mucha gente se aprovecha de eso. Encuentras gente que se aprovecha del que vienes como que sin conocer el país, sin conocer cómo es el tema trabajo, si está bien que te paguen de pronto la hora tampoco o no. De que, por ejemplo, según a veces escucho de gente que utiliza tus papeles para trabajar, o sea, sales de una compañía y aún sigues trabajando ahí sin darte cuenta, entonces...
But what particularly comes out is this housing issue. In fact, so many Latin Americans are in the private rented sector. I'm not sure that's really being picked up by other housing organisations, that's the case.
El gran problema es una ciudad excesivamente cara. La vivienda, después del lenguaje, después del idioma, la vivienda realmente es terrible. No puedes acceder a una vivienda digna porque es excesivamente caro con relação a lo que se gana em trabalhos não qualificados.
Bom, a adaptação em Londres foi difícil. Primeiro porque quando a gente mudou, a gente morava num quarto e nessa casa tinha 5 famílias.
Y estuvimos viviendo así en esa incomodidad pues 6 meses más o menos. Sí, es decir, nosotros dormíamos en la cama de él, que era cama grande, y él dormía en el suelo. Y todos 3 en el mismo cuarto. Bueno, 4, con el 4. Entonces, bastante complicado fue.
So in comparison to other migrant communities, I think the biggest challenge facing the Latin American community is language. So most of the big groups have come here to London and the UK have been those who are from other Commonwealth countries. And so English is either the main language or the second language. And so that may be why we've not had a huge number come in the past. We are seeing more come now because of employment. But that's the biggest difference that they face.
El tema del idioma te hace sentirte sordo y mudo porque no puedes comunicarte. Afortunadamente llegué a un país donde la gente es muy amable, te ayuda y te orienta, intenta entenderte. Fue difícil porque no puedes tener capacidades, cualidades, puedes tener un título profesional, pero si no hablas el idioma, no puedes acceder a ningún tipo de trabajo, cualificado obviamente.
El trabajo, aquí yo estuve trabajando, bueno, estuve y estoy trabajando como limpiadora. Y pues nada, lo único por el tema idioma, porque pues si supiera un poquito más de inglés, tal vez podría encontrar otra cosa mejor.
And so trying to get jobs where, you know, a number have been teachers or engineers or social workers in their home country in Spain, and then trying to get that same job here in London is much more difficult because they don't have a language and they don't have that technical language.
La sangre me sabe a pisco, tequila y ron. América es mi tierra, mi piel.
I studied in degree business administration, but it's Latin American university, so I think so I need to check on internet. Maybe I can validate to work here because meanwhile I'm just still doing cleaning jobs or any kind of job.
No Brasil eu era professora e eu queria poder trabalhar na minha área, sabe? Não, talvez não dando aula numa sala de aula.
Y llegar a este país era un retroceso total. Ya no solo empezar de cero, porque cuando empiezas de cero, llegas con ilusión. Era retroceder.
That we're talking about a population that is affected by in-work poverty. And we're talking about a population that is mostly feminized, so a very large number of migrant women workers. So people with high levels of employment, mostly in the cleaning industry, and also high levels of exploitation. So for instance, we have that 3/4 of these recent arrivals are not paid the London living wage and experience discrimination and exploitation at the workplace.
Many cleaning jobs they offer me cash in hands, but I have bad experience because they knew my legal situation that time. It wasn't the right, so many jobs they don't pay me, you know. So I work 5 to 7, my first job, and the second one is night shift, is 8 to 10 p.m. You need to travel a lot from one job to another. So basically, sometimes you travel the same amount of time that you spend working all the jobs together.
There need to be less barriers to access services and more understanding about the very low access of services to of Latin Americans, and better policies in terms of English language provision.
I went one time to register to the GP, but I never used the service. When I tried to get access again, I remember I get my card registration and I showed the GP and they told me I need to show the passport, documents, everything, and I was shocked. I say, why? Because I registered already. And they say, yeah, we need to have proof you are the one who been registered before.
So I think what the new research shows is that the key areas that were identified in the first report are still the same. So particularly in relation to exploitation in the workplace, access to health services, and also the recognition of the community itself.
The needs of this community need to be taken seriously, and policymakers need to respond to what the research is showing. And the research is showing that this is a diverse community, but mostly it's a community affected by poverty and by also high rates of discrimination.
Tengo que saber inglés. Si no sé inglés, sí, es difícil. Tendría que actualizarme un poco y bueno, pero sí es difícil. Bueno, lo que me han dicho es que tengo que volver otra vez de nuevo, tratar de actualizarme un poco y presentar pruebas o nivelaciones para poder nivelarme a lo que es mi carrera. Pero, ¿sabes? Nunca es tarde, ¿no? La vida es joven. La juventud no la tiene por dentro. El futuro está en uno. ¿Verdad que sí?
Well, I am a migrant, son of migrants, grandson of migrants. My grandparents on my mother's side were French. They migrated to Argentina. My parents were born in Argentina. I was born in Brazil. And I grew up in Mexico. So my parents migrated to Mexico, and I migrated back to Europe. When I came to Europe, I also went for a period to Spain, so I am actually a bit of a normal migrant in that sense. Well, I married an English woman, and my daughter is a Londoner.